Hi, I'm Tim O'Brien, and in this video, I'm going to share with you what I think are the 6 keys to building a great personal brand. The first key, the first of all 6, which is the most important, is authenticity. Your brand's got to be a true reflection of the real you. Look, we can build an image or we can build a brand. The difference is this: an image might not really be who you are. And the problem with that is twofold. First, it's exhausting. I mean, could you imagine living a lie day in and day out? And second, eventually it's going to collapse. So what I tell my clients is right away is really think about who you are. And you want to promote a part of you that is a true reflection of your real authenticity, because that's what people gravitate to, is they gravitate towards authenticity. So you've got to choose something that is absolutely effortless to live. You know, so many people want to be, Julia Roberts or Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise or Denzel Washington or Beyonce or Jay-Z or, Tom Brady. Sometimes we just have to be Urkel. Now, if you remember, Urkel was a character on TV for years and years and years, and he was a dork. But Urkel had a great run as Urkel. Because Urkel realized, now again, the character, not the actual person, but in the movie, the character didn't try to be anything he wasn't. He relished being the dork, and he was super popular. Now, I'm not also saying you have to find the dorkiness in you, but what I am saying is you gotta find the authenticity in you, and you wanna build your brand based upon that. The second thing, your brand has to be relatable. It's really important, and you've gotta express it in a way that's simple and easy to understand. I'll work with people, and oftentimes they'll choose words that are more esoteric, right? More complex or opaque. The problem with that is it's not easy for people to connect with. Branding is all about emotional, and so you've got to pick something that's easily and emotionally connectable with your target audience. Think about this, right? You're a lawyer, and you want to pick a brand of, I'm an advocate. People don't talk like that. They don't. I always say to people, talk like you're from Jersey. When you do, you sort of break it down. You break it down to its rawness. Now, we can dress it back up, but we want to get down to the rawness. So, for example, you're a trial lawyer. Maybe you're a pit bull. Maybe you're tenacious. And maybe you are an advocate, but people don't talk that way. So you want to choose something that is easy for people to identify. Oh, I get it, I get it, I get it. That's what you're going for. Number 3, you got to be narrow and specific. I say to my clients all the time, you can't be the funny leader. You got to be funny or the leader. And what happens is when you're picking your brand, it's all about an analysis of all of the different features about who you are as a person. And I'm not saying that they're not all equally important, but you can't be all things to all people. That's a recipe for disaster. What you have to do is you have to pick your lane and you have to stick with it. There'll be times when you're going to want to, step outside that lane. You got to fight that tendency. People will say also to me, hey, Tim, so do I have a different brand when I'm at work and a different brand when I'm a dad and a different brand when I'm a coach? Nope. It's one singular brand. I want you to think of it like this. Imagine you're a track superstar. You're not connected to any team other than maybe if you were competing in the Olympics and you're associated with your country. But for the most part, what you do is you travel around the world to the different track meets. You want to build your brand so that regardless of where you find yourself, that brand is always the same. Similarly, if you are if you're a 100-meter sprinter, all you do is work hard, get in great condition so that when it comes to running the 100 meters, you're in optimal performance. You might find yourself in Spain, you might find yourself in Italy, you might find yourself in Madison Square Garden, whatever the case may be, but you're always one thing, which is a 100-meter sprinter. You got to be inexhaustibly consistent. You've got to be relentless in your consistency. And this is hard. This is where, sometimes you're just not feeling it. But what you have to do is you have to realize what the consequences of inconsistency are. Look, picking your brand is easy, okay? It's easy. I mean, I could go through the process with you and show you how to pick a brand that's a true reflection of who you are. We can get it super duper consistent, super duper specific. But when it comes to being consistent, I can't do anything for you. The question is how committed are you to the process? Like, look at the people who are the most successful. All of those people are incredibly consistent. You know, Kobe Bryant, an incredible basketball player, played for the Los Angeles Lakers for his entire career. And one of the things that Kobe was known for was the consistency in his workouts. Day in and day out, day in and day out. He would exhaust people. Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time in the NFL, was known for his incredible consistency when it came to working out. Matter of fact, rookies would come into the league and they would hear about Jerry Rice, and they were whippersnappers and they were ready to go. And so they'd say, "Jerry, can I work out with you?" And one by one, they just wilted because they couldn't keep up with his consistency. You must exhaust people with your consistency. Number 5, your brand has to match your audience's needs. I'm going to give you a great example. I had a client of mine, and they were in the supermarket business, and they wanted to, and they served the Hispanic community, and they had a gigantic Hispanic population that would visit their stores, and a lot of these people would transfer their money from America over to Mexico or Central American countries. And there's a process for this, and it's big business. So the supermarket chain, it was a natural extension of their platform. If they could provide this service to their people, it would be great because it would attract them in to purchase more products. And number 2 is it would also be a great moneymaker. But they needed an expert. And so another client of mine found out that there was this opportunity, and he had the guy. The problem was, he called me and he said, "Tim, I need you to help my friend who could get this job and be tremendously valuable. The problem is, I'm not sure that he'll fit in. And the problem is, he talks too much and he's well-intentioned, but he can alienate people." So I coached him up a little bit, and we set him up in the interview, and in he went. After it was over, I reached out to my client's supermarket chain and I said, "How did it go?" And remember, he said, "Guy's amazing. Guy's incredibly knowledgeable." But after he left, we all looked at each other and said, "But he would drive us nuts." So I relayed that message back to this guy. And his comment was typical for a lot of people. Not bad, but typical. "Hey, I am who I am." The problem with that is you'll always get what you'll always get what you always got. You see, you've got to make sure that your brand and what you're promoting is what people are interested in. I'll give you a good example. I have a client of mine. I have a coach of mine, and we're promoting my brand and to the marketplace and what I have been selling for the last 15 years. And I said to him, "I don't want you to feel pressured that you have to, part of your obligation is to make sure there's conversion. Your job is to make sure that we're setting the table. If my content doesn't appeal to people, that's on me. If I'm serving food people don't like, that's on me." Similarly, if we're delivering a brand that people don't like, got to make sure that we need to make that adjustment. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves on the outs. Number 6, and here's the key. It kind of goes along, it's a cousin of consistency. You got to build great personal brand equity, right? And I want you to think about it in 2 categories. The first is what I call the big ticket items. And then the others are the little ticket items that in and of themselves may not add a lot of value, but cumulatively, they can have the same impact. Think of building brand equity like increasing the value of a home you just bought. Presumably, if you bought a home, it's worth the value that you just paid for it. And let's say you want to flip it. Well, how can I add some immediate value? Everybody in real estate knows there's 3 principal ways you do it. First is, can you redo the bathrooms? Second, can you redo the kitchen? And third, what can you do for curb appeal? Those are the big ticket items. Then you get into things like, what kind of hardware are we using on the doors? Are the doors hollow or are they solid? Are we doing crown molding? Do we have a mantle over the fireplace? You know, things that are smaller, less significant, and by themselves don't have a lot of impact, but we put them all together and they have the same impact as the bathrooms, the kitchen, or curb appeal. It's the same thing when it comes to our brands. We can do some big ticket items pretty quickly. We can change our wardrobe. We can drive a different car, right? We can lose a lot of weight. We can change our haircut. There's a whole host of big ticket items that people can take a lot of attention, pay a lot of attention to, and can have quick, immediate impact. Wow, people see it. But then it's all about consistency. Everything we do either adds to or takes away from our personal brand credibility. Everything. So the question is what are you doing on the little ticket items? That's where you really make your mark. I remember reading an article about Marlon Brando, who many people considered to be one of the greatest actors of all time. And early on in his career, he was a stage actor. And he was just a guy, he wasn't very famous, but he would have small roles in plays in New York. And there was one review of him, and I'll never forget it, reading it. They talked about the main actors were okay, but they were like, this guy in the background who was on the couch, who had no lines at all, was incredible. He was captivating. You see, Brando understood you gotta act the whites of the pages. When you're not speaking, what are you doing to be interesting? And I just thought that was a great analogy in terms of when you're not doing big ticket things that people can take notice of. What are the small things you're doing that are not immediately visible on people's radar screens? But over time, all of a sudden, they just had this positive feeling about you. Okay? So you gotta build massive, great personal brand equity. So again, the 6 things that are the foundation of a great personal brand. It's gotta be authentic. It's gotta be easy to identify with. It's gotta be narrow and specific. It's gotta be consistent. It's gotta match your audience's needs, and you need to have powerful personal brand equity. You focus on those 6 things, and you will be well on your way to positioning yourself as the person to see with your target audience.